to say a few words. It's ironic. There's a Yiddish expression, I don't know Yiddish, but there's a Yiddish expression that says that man plans and God laughs. And ironically, this past April, I was scheduled to speak at an international conference of medical professionals for heart and lung transplantation in Montreal. A big conference. They paid money for me to go out and speak in front of all these people. And ironically, the topic was death. They wanted me to speak about what it's like, the experience of being in the hospital, before death, and after death, and what that experience is like. And that was the topic. They were flying me in to speak. For a number of reasons, among them COVID canceled the conference, but even before, a number of reasons, that wasn't meant to be. Instead of speaking about this topic, I was struggling with this topic in real life. And just very briefly about my experience, I had COVID, I was very sick, I was at home, I was isolated for about a week, and then I was having some trouble with breathing and so on, so I called Hatzalah until, of course, as we know for many, many years how amazing they are. They came quickly, and we sent them away. 2 days later, things declined to a degree, so I felt, we spoke to the doctor, and we decided I have to go to the hospital. We went to the hospital, and I could tell you it was a very difficult experience. I didn't even remember a lot. I don't remember a lot of my memories, or remember that time was clouded by drugs and other things described, and I was there. It was a very I've never been so sick in my entire life, and they really didn't know what was wrong. The testing for COVID is very inaccurate, so to speak. Someone just told me they tested negative for COVID and positive for antibodies. The testing is, I was tested negative throughout the hospital stay. Even to the end, I tested negative for COVID, but clearly I had COVID. And I was given medication, hydrochloroquine, and other medications to help me. And I remember it was the first time where I really struggled with the idea about what it would be like to feel like you were going to die. And I never had that experience in my life. There was a guy who was next to me, and I remember it was one of the hardest things to, even just to witness. They were putting him on a ventilator, and they told him he had to say goodbye to his family, and they gave him a few minutes to say goodbye to his family. They told him, we don't know if he would come back. And I was on a lot of oxygen at the time. They were doubling up on oxygen. They kept giving me a mask, a non-rebreather, and then a nasal, and they were giving more and more oxygen to try to keep me off the ventilator. And Baruch Hashem, they gave me other medications to deal with other problems, pneumonia and so on. So it was a very trying experience. It was a very lonely experience. It was very difficult. Now you don't have people who are in the hospital advocating for you. We have a lot of experience, about a quarter of my life being in the hospital, so we have a lot of experience, and it was just something different than we've ever been exposed to. There's no protexia, there's no nothing. You're sitting there for hours and hours. They didn't give us water, no food. It was a very trying experience, and I really didn't know what to do with this scenario, because I'd never been that close to a scenario of what can happen? Where will I be? If I'll be in a short period of time. Two things that I learned. First, I learned how hard, just to bring up Miriam for a second, until you're in this situation, she was obviously much sicker than I ever was, and she was in a state that none of us can even imagine. But the way she conducted herself in the hospital is unimaginable. I'm also, more Miriam, because she was older. It's unimaginable how when you're so sick, it's so hard. I tried to be conscious of and be appreciative of what the doctors were doing for us, the nurses, but you can't imagine how difficult it is when you're that sick to really think outside yourself. It's so easy to, because of what's happening to you, it's so easy to only think inwards and only think of yourself. And the fact that Miriam was able to have the mind, even at times when she didn't have, she was going through so much, how she was able to think of the doctors and think of the nurses and constantly show her appreciation, her karas hatov. It's really, it gave for me a next level appreciation for what she was able to accomplish and do in the hospital. Because and I told some of this, when you're in that state, whoever you are, at your core is what you got. So Miriam, the reason she was able to do it is because she was at her core a very appreciative person who very much cared about other people. And because she was able to do that, she was able to continue that in the hospital. It's very difficult to redefine yourself. And all of a sudden, if you're an inward person, a person who cares about himself, who's self-centered, when you're in that situation, it's hard to think outside yourself and start to think of other people. So it was just remarkable to me too. That was the one thing I appreciated. The other thing I appreciated was the idea of gratitude. Mostly, of course, gratitude to Hashem, that He was able to get me through this experience, and even more so when I was in moments where I didn't know if I was going to be or not going to be, and I was going to live or not going to live. When I didn't know those, the moments of those, you have to look at your life and see where you're at, and see what you are. And Baruch Hashem, what I was blessed with, the silver lining, so to speak, of that experience, was to have gratitude for what I had. And that was, and I had tremendous feeling of thanks to Hashem, but also thanks to people. I was so thankful for the people to my wife. I remember the Shabbos there. If you've ever been experienced where you're alone for Shabbos, you can't communicate by yourself, it's very hard. And Siggy went to the hospital, they wouldn't even let her in, she brought me books. She was advocating for me in the background, even though it was possible to really advocate for yourself or even for anybody else under those circumstances. So I appreciated that. I appreciated my kids. And I appreciated work. All the people at work, Sam and Nelson and Yezi, who were so kind to me and so good to me. And even though I've only been there a short time, how caring and how much they gave to me and while I was there. I remember the first week I was here, Yezi, I was here, and Yezi texted me. He says, and I couldn't move. I had my laptop on my lap, and I was sitting like this. I was doing work. I basically couldn't move except my finger. And Yezi texted me and he says, I heard you're working, and I'm your boss, and you are to stop working. Do not put the laptop down. You are not to work for another second. I said, I'm telling you, I'm paying your paycheck. You are not to work. And that was classic. And everybody at work was amazing. And the family, how caring and kind everybody was. And also, on top of all that, it helped me to appreciate my Rebbe, of course, our Rebbeim, how close they were, how caring they were, and how much they cared about me. And also my family, my daughter, my sons, and my parents, my mother-in-law, my brother-in-laws, and all the family. It made me appreciate those people, and it made me realize that I wanted to live. There was enough about my life that I wanted to live. And that's all I could think of. I want to live, and there's enough here. I felt like I have a place in this world. I have, as they say, I have a point. I have what to accomplish. And that was something that I finally realized, which I didn't know. And gratitude is something that, for better or for worse, something a little more natural to it, something less natural to it. And it's something that I'm working on and trying to appreciate in my life, gratitude. Because even though we've had kind of different experiences, and sometimes some years better than others, it helped me to appreciate, even despite all the difficulty that we've had, that it helped me to appreciate what we, all the good that we have, all the good in my life, and how much my family means to me, and how much I love them, and how much that makes life worth living. So I want to thank everyone for coming, thank everyone for listening. Sorry for rambling on for a bit. And also to thank Hashem mostly that He gave me this opportunity to continue to try to better myself and be the best person I can. And with Hashem should help all the people who are struggling for any illnesses or any problems, anyone needs Yeshuas, Hashem should help them to give them Yeshuas and Refuas and whatever anybody needs.
Amen.
We should see it. It's Hashem. Mashiach should come quickly because we need him so badly.
Amen.